Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Airsoft podcast with the Headless Chicken Squad. As always, I am the Don. Welcome to episode 12. It's the final episode in season 1. And today I have been joined by a very special guest because, as you are aware, we always bring you the very best in guests, topics, and conversations of the Airsoft world. And today I wanted to bring you somebody very special from the other side of the pond. Please welcome Erik, Trifecta, also known as Erik, from the Trifecta podcast. Erik, absolutely delighted to have you on the show. Hello, and I'm also delighted to be on your show as well. So, hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Airsoft podcast.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's and welcome to you also because we this is kind of a collaboration between our two podcasts. Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, it's good. Very interesting part, and obviously, as we go into the pod, we'll kind of put just how weird the airsoft community is, because there's a very close link that we've just found out that we've recently come across. So we'll go into that a little bit later into it. As Erik has just alluded to there, this is a bit of a collaboration, so it's a bit of a strange one for us. So normally we're the guys that do the interviewing, and so it's obviously strange how this dynamic works. So what we've actually agreed on is I'm actually going to let Erik grill me and kind of ask the questions and in fact, I've actually got a beer in the fridge behind me, so I might just go and grab one and just imagine we're having a tab and just having a quick chat over airsoft. We both have a bit of a passion for it, so let's kind of see where that goes, really. So before you grill me, why don't you let everybody in the UK know a little bit about you, your channel, and kind of how we've got to where we are now.
For sure. Yeah, so Trifecta Airsoft started out as a unboxing and review channel with two of my sons and their good friend. I had started 2 other YouTube channels before this one, just as something to keep my mind busy while I was recovering from this illness of being paralyzed and everything. I would have never started any kind of YouTube thing before that happened. I was I think I had a Facebook for years that I only used for my parent or my mom and sisters up in Cleveland, Ohio, which is about 10-hour drive from South Carolina where we're at. And that was it. I had no social media. I knew how to use all this stuff, email and all that, but I would have never started a social media account for anything until I'm laying there staring at the ceiling, wondering what I'm going to do with to keep from going crazy. These guys came home one day with some airsoft guns. I was like, man, those are cool. Let's film it. And we started out doing unboxings, reviews on those guns. They started doing gameplay, and then I took care of the channel and edited. And then life happened for them as, early 20s, mid 20s. They got married, bought houses, promotions at work, had kids. Airsoft took the back seat, okay? And for me, I was like, dude, I still want to do something with this channel. And that spawned the podcast. I love talking with people. It's really my passion now, to be honest. And through doing that in the beginning, I didn't have the idea in the beginning of what it was going to be. But now it's grown into this. I have a mission for it to get people's stories out there. Not obviously about airsoft and how they got into it, but also about the person, like who is behind the gear, who's behind the helmet, the mask, all the stuff you put on when you go out and play at these big milsims. Who is the person behind there, right? What makes you tick? What got you to where you're at today? And that's been my mission over the last probably year and a half, I guess. And I really enjoy it. So, I put out a lot of episodes.
I love a lot of episodes. Obviously, this is episode 12, and obviously you're up to 329, so this will be 330.
Yeah, over 300. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we put out 2 a week, every Saturday and Sunday. And for about a year and a half, I did 3 a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That was, man, that was tough. So anyone that has a YouTube channel that puts out content, especially long form, that's, anything over an hour long, it's a lot of work, So, but I loved it. I got to say though, as far as editing goes, anyone that's got a Airsoft YouTube channel that has to do like gameplay editing, the editing for this podcast, nothing like that. Okay. It is very simple, very quick and easy. Okay.
Yeah, I've just gone into gameplay editing and footage and stuff, and it's very difficult syncing stuff. I run a 3-camera format, and yeah, it's difficult. I wish I kind of started with just one, just a head cam, but I've gone full tilt, shoulder cam, scope cam, reverse cam. Yeah, it's fun. Well, I say
Do you
fun.
have the 360 one?
I'm saving up for the Insta 360 X4. I started off with shoulder cam just with a standard action cam because I wanted to, before I went out and spent all the money, I just wanted to make sure that I was comfortable with it and found the editing manageable and fun and things like that. But yeah, you soon, a bit like with the guns, you start with a certain point and then you realize what can be achieved by doing something else. So I've kind of set my goal with that really, and that's where we're going to go with it. And yeah, that's my next my next purchase is going to be an 360 X4, and I'm actually going to run it because I don't know kind of where this sits with the American audience, but the team that I play for, we predominantly run HPA. I currently on my rig here have like a mini backpack for the tank, so it's actually got a very nice hold. I'm actually going to run the Insta 360 and run it as a unique camera point up here.
Okay.
So it won't be a shoulder cam; it'll be run off like an invisible selfie stick. So I'll see what interesting angles I can kind of get from that. So I'm not sure how fun it'll come through. Not sure how fun it'll be going through some doors, but for woodland gameplay, it'll work out really, really well. I'm sure I'll adapt it if we're going to play indoor and things. So
yeah, if you're close to 6 foot, you're gonna have to duck to go in through some doorways or around tree limbs or something, because if that thing's sticking up over your helmet, it's gonna hit some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, being 42 and 6'1", playing CQB and stuff like that can get quite difficult getting up and down and moving things. Yet you see all these short guys and kids running around and being a little bit more nimble and things. I can get up and down and I can move, but yeah, I can't quite get into tight spaces. I can't change my physical mass, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, I was there's a handful of guys I've talked with that are pretty short. And they do speed QB, indoor stuff, whatever, and they get around pretty easy. But when I was talking with Stu, Death Row Airsoft, shout out Death Row for good podcasts and ultimately being kind of almost a link between us, really.
Yeah.
Is he said he told the story that him and his buddies, he lives in Japan, okay, and I think he said he's 6'3" or 6'1", something like that. He's over 6 foot, all geared up. They go to this indoor field that's inside of a shopping mall. And I think there was like 3 of his buddies. So there's 4 of them, all tactical gear, and they're all over 6 foot, walking through the mall to go in this tiny little indoor field. And I thought, bro, those people around there had to be freaking out. Look at these giants. Yeah, it's definitely a lot more difficult to get around when you're taller, when you're trying to crawl and get through tight spots.
But I think by saying that, what you're saying, if you're going in sort of tacked up and you've got all the gear and things like that, intimidation is real on an airsoft field. It does come across, especially if people are, they're used to playing just indoor CQB and they can play tight corners. You step out into a woodland field, and we've squad I play for has actually got 40 members in it now. And sometimes we can turn up and play with 15, 16 man squads, and we're not all regimented in terms of how tacked up we are. We all kind of wear our own version of camo, and the boon is probably the only staple thing. But yeah, we can be quite intimidating when we walk on a field and we're all pushing the objective, and quite a few people aren't fans of how aggressively we push, not in it, oh, we're going to get you sort of pushing, but literally as soon as the bell or the whistle goes, we are the first guys at that objective, and we're pushing hard and we're coming in numbers, quite often with a lot of power and things like that. So yeah, the size does work to your advantage at times. When you're coming over the hill of a woodland field, it's impressive sights, to be fair.
That's impressive with 40 members on your team.
Yeah, I mean, we only actually set up. I'll tell the story of kind of how we kind of got there. So I'll go back to myself, my good friend Paul, call sign Flexi, who is kind of like the commanding officer of the team that we represent. He's the guy that is the glue that puts everything together. I kind of do all the face sort of stuff, really. But We were on a cruise, going around the Caribbean. We'd been playing for a while. We'd always we got really annoyed when we used to turn up at fields and half the guys would be sat at the back not doing what they should be doing and things like that. And we always wanted to push. We kind of had this idea that the 3 or 4 guys that we knew that we played with, let's start a team, but let's have like a clear goal of our only objective is to play the objective. We wouldn't have any preconceived goals other than that. Whether you're a newbie, ex-vet, or somebody who's just seasoned in playing, or somebody who's just interested in getting started. And that was kind of the only way we wanted to go with it. We came up with a name that was quite fun, the Headless Chicken Squad, which it has a tongue-in-cheek meaning, but people will kind of realise a little bit further down the line, kind of it does have a little bit more of a serious connotation to it as well. But we just didn't want to go into something that said like Delta Force One or kind of things like that. I find that a little bit cringe because although we don't want people to take us too seriously, we do take our airsoft serious and we play hard and we want to kind of we want to win. We're red-blooded males, but at the same time, we're the nicest sort of guys you'll ever meet in the world in the safe zone and things like that. But we kind of set upon this kind of mission just to kind of see if we could get 6 or 7 guys together to kind of form a decent squad that we could kind of own the field really. And then kind of as we started going, people just started coming along to the journey. We got to sort of 15, 16. And then it was like, oh, wow, this is going to take away responsibility. Then people are like, oh, are you still looking for players? I'm like, yeah, why not? You want to come and run with us? It's fine. You can kind of go from there. We got to sort of 25, 30, and then we blinked over the last sort of 4 weeks, and it's just gone straight to 40. And what's actually really impressive or kind of really reflective for us, it isn't just new people that are jumping on and wanting a place to belong. We've got very, very good airsofters that have run as lone rangers, have seen how we conduct ourselves and how we play, and have wanted to jump on board and kind of be part of that, really. I think we went to probably one of the best fields here in the UK at the moment is a site called 6 Mil. We turned up there with a team of 18 3 weeks ago. Just dominated, and it's one of those things. But the most important thing is we hit the bar after, we have a couple of beers, and that's what it's all about. Do you know what I mean? And the WhatsApp group isn't kind of really safe for work, even though there are a couple of youngsters in there. But that's what it's all about. It's the banter. It's the fun. We'll have sort of fun call signs and things like that. We just didn't want to go down the route of saying you must wear CP camo, you must use this gun, you must do this, you must do that. The only thing we say is turn up and play as much as you can. You play hard, you play fair. Purchase a boonie for $10 or whatever. That's kind of like our only kind of thing. But we're not really hardball with that. Some people wear fast helmets and caps and things like that. But the boonie's just our kind of like mark of kind of where we're at with it, really. And as we've gone, we've kind of agreed that we'll take anybody. Anybody wants to come and play part of what we do. We play every week. We have like a roster of about 10 sites across the UK that we go to around our area. Every couple of months, we'll go on like a weekender. So we're going to go to the very north of England on the 6th of July and play two sites up there. We'll take a squad of 15 there. Yeah, it's all fun. It's all what Airsoft's about. And if we can add a little bit of positivity and bright light to it, then we're having a bit of fun with it. And that's all that counts, really.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, that's a pretty big jump to go how fast you guys have grown recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what? So you're in UK. You said you play it all. You guys go around most of the area and play all these different sites. So a lot of people I've had on from the UK, I've heard of a handful of sites out there. Driverwood, Dirty Dog. I think
so that's
Halo.
the site we're going to go to. Yeah, so Dirty Dog's the site we're going to go to on the 7th. So we go to a big site called No Man's Land on the 6th, Dirty Dog on the Sunday. The Driverwood is in the south. It's actually really close to Gatwick Airport. Halo Mill is part of the, I don't know if you've kind of seen it in the state. There's an airsoft supplier called Patrol Base. So Halo Mill is there, or one of their airsoft fields close to them. So they actually own that field. So we haven't been there yet, but it's on the list of slightly outside of our boundaries. But yeah, what are the sites you tend to hear of people?
Those are the only ones I can remember right now. I know there's a bunch more. I want to say I've had at least 20, maybe 30 people on here from the UK.
Yeah.
And so they've told me about a lot of different places they've played. So it's I feel like I know it. Like when somebody like, if somebody mentions, okay, Driver Wood, I'm like, yeah, dude, I've heard about this site, and a lot of times what I'll do is after the podcast is done, these places I've never heard of, I'll go online and look at them, or I'll do it right there on the podcast. I'm like, hey, let me bring this up, I'll share the screen. So they look really cool, a lot of the sites. And then of course, some of the people I follow do YouTube channels for it. Like Englefield Echo is her YouTube channel. She posts a lot of gameplay, used to post a lot of gameplay stuff. And there was a site, I'm not sure which one it was that she was at, but it had a lot of trenches. So it was like trench warfare through the woods and everything. It was really cool, man. It's cool to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might actually be No Man's Land. They've actually, as the name suggests, their whole site is built around a First World War style trench network, and they build bunkers, and you need ladders to get out and things like that. It just basically makes a very flat woodland really, really interesting because, to push that forward position, you're going to find people hidden in bunkers and trenches, and yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
It's almost like an outdoor CQB, right? With no. It's all natural structure, kind of.
I think that's the big thing that I find with the terminology and kind of description with a lot of airsoft things. Obviously, people think of CQB as being like really small indoor hurt lockers, things like that. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're playing any sites, outdoor, indoor, whether it's urban, rural, if there's kind of gaming arenas that are you're going to be engaged in anything between 10 and 20 meters on a regular basis. For me, that is close quarters combat, which is, you got to play angles, you got to play corners, you got to play in a certain style, you got to play quick. Yes, you might have to travel 50, 60 meters, 70 meters, 100 meters to kind of get to the next part of that. But you're then going to be going into a close quarters and get, in the UK, there's a lot of CQB, like a lot of the wooden sides do have CQB in them. We're not like the States. We don't have anywhere near as much landmass. So a lot of the woodland sites might be only, anywhere between 8 and 25 acres, 200 players on them. You're involved in CQB, whichever way you look at it.
That's true.
So we have a lot of snipers that begrudgingly will have to play CQB and obviously have a decent pistol game and things like that. Yeah, I think CQB is something that you've got to get involved. I mean, I personally, I'm not a massive fan of the real tight indoor stuff, mainly because I'm a big guy and things like that. But I love. We play at a site here called Outpost, which is I was going to say former paintball site. It's not. It's actually still a really prominent paintball site. But they have 5 gaming arenas. And it's a former military RAS outpost because it's quite close to the coast and it has all the aerial bombardment anti-aircraft missiles. Some of the best CQB you'll play, but it's all outdoors. The game modes are except, you go there, you play 6 hours, you come off there knowing you've had a good day of airsoft. Win, lose or draw, you come out of there, you've had a good day. You can't, you're not in the action. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
If you turn up there with a sniper rifle, you might as well go home because we'll be on you quicker than you miss that first shot. We'll be on you before you can get your second one away. So yeah, it's
one of the things you mentioned earlier. You said something about the you run a HPA tank.
Yeah. So we run. Yeah.
Does most of your team do that? And also, is that kind of frowned upon or something in the UK? Because I've seen some posts from people in the UK for airsoft stuff that maybe they don't like the HPA stuff or something. I'm not sure. Is it because it's related more towards like Speedsoft? Is that?
You're triggering me now.
I was gonna say Speedsoft is like a bad word over there, bro. I don't get it.
I don't necessarily think. I think yes, that's part and parcel where it comes from. I genuinely think the HPA argument is, I think it's getting better. Like I see more and more sites being geared up for it. I see more and more players willing to do it. I think HPA's got 3 things against it. Cost of entry. So you've got your cost of your rifle, but then obviously you've got your cost of your air system. So most entry-level riffs, the MTW is probably the go-to. I think we've got 13 out of 40 that run MTWs of some variation. So straight off the bat, before you've even done any upgrades, you're talking £600, so $700, and then you've only got an air system, entry-level air systems, at least 150. And then I think the other thing is a lack of education on HBA. There's this weird myths and legend that if you fire a BB out of a HBA gun, it all of a sudden gets really angry and extra heavy and things like that. It's this whole myth of if I fire a 0.2 gram BB, a HPA rifle, and an AG on the same FPS, that apparently the HPA one is traveling through is obviously hotter or has got more dual energy in it. It's an absolute nonsense. So, but then I also think, like you say, there is that connotation with speed soft. There are a lot of young kids running around with AA ones and high cappers that are doing on there. Also, there's the option if sights don't do their job properly, and torn lock regs, that people turn regs up and stuff like that. My own personal opinion on that is, if you're the sort of person that goes to Chrono, gets everything tested and signed off, you then go back to the safe zone and turn that up, then you're a grade A clown and don't deserve to be on the field. But then that's the same if you're running a quick change spring system and you abuse that, or if you're using gas blowback, your chrono on green gas, and all of a sudden you're running black gas, then you're in the same ballpark, and that just comes down to the player, not the system. We are seeing over the last sort of 12 months there is a big shift in HPA becoming. I think it's becoming more accessible because there's a really good one, Gate event in the market, which people tend to enjoy, and obviously with that being a European company, I mean, I still feel that Wolverine with their Inferno Gen 2 run the market. I mean, but I've also just installed a Pulsar D, Gate Pulsar D, into a G&G Firehawk, and she's an absolute beast.
Dude, that's nice.
For CQB, I'll see if I can go and get her at some point. She's hiding in stores at the moment, but
yeah, I don't think I've seen it. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
I'll go and grab her. She's a work of art, and she's been souped up to the max. Like she is. I think by the time all the parts are added up, I'll have to make sure the wife doesn't see this, but basically for a gun that was supplied by one of our sponsors for literally less than £100, she's basically she's £1,000 riff, and that's the stuff that I've sourced at cost. She's dangerous. Like and what people don't like is, because she's CQB, for woodland CQB, she can lift a .4 BB without even thinking about it. So you're playing outdoor CQB, she's causing damage. And I think that's the main thing that people don't like with HPA. It's a consistent energy source. And if you can get your dwell set in a decent hop up, that's the main advantage you get over a standard AG. There aren't many AGs that can lift more than maybe a 0.3 or 0.32 BB. But you start whacking HPA engines in stuff and they start lifting things. Like my MTW, I run it as a standard AR, but I can, if I'm playing Woodland, I will quite happily run 0.48 in it, and it then turns into a sniper hunter.
Whoa.
Yes, I lose speed of delivery across the woodland. I can get through shrubs, I can get through things, but then I can also still have the ability to whack her into full auto, and she can deliver 12.48 at 20 rounds a second, and that's the main difference that people don't like. They are like a cheat code, because when I've done my time with using battery powered, and the gearboxes break, and the reliability of that. They don't like the colds. They don't like certain situations. Whereas HPA, I can roll you around. You don't get any issues with it.
Hot, cold, doesn't matter, man. It's consistent as hell, and it's quiet.
It's ridiculous. Bit of a plug here, actually. I've been sent these. I've got 2 suppressors that have been sent out. So this one's a carbon suppressor, which is a stubby one, which isn't in here. It's actually been attached to my MTW. And then I've been sent one that is specifically designed for my CQB Beast. She's a G&G Firehawk, so she makes a racket. But I've been sent this mini carbon suppressor for it. It fits inside the things. I'm looking forward to kind of see this, but I've tested them on a lot of the things, and these are silent. In fact, I almost don't want to make my firewalk silent because I quite enjoy watching people run away. They come around the corner, they hear it go off, and they literally turn around and run the other way.
That's awesome.
I kind of don't want to take that element of surprise away. Yeah, they are. It's just a very consistent energy source, and I think people are understanding it more. I can understand it from a gun tech's point of view, because if you've got 100 people using AEG assault rifles, they're going to break a lot. They take a lot of maintenance. They're quite hard to tinker with. If your motor goes, or you start shimming your gearboxes, and then you're going to need a tech on board. Whereas it takes me 30 seconds to clean the MTW, take the upper receiver off, pop the hop out, pop the barrel out, give the barrel clean, literally just pop it back in, it's done, and it all clicks in. There's no little finicky tools and stuff needed. It's such an easy thing to use. You don't have the battery issue, so I run just a standard 250 mAh JST battery that'll last me 3 game days. I haven't got to worry.
And that's just for the electronic trigger setup, basically, right?
Yeah, it's just the FCU that's in there, and I think that's the other flexibility I have. We play this is a site you're going to want to look at. So it's a site that used to be called Stormforce, and last year it got taken over by a chap who's a former player, because the guy that owned the site was retiring, and he's basically taken it from what was already a steady 8.5 out of 10 site. And he has definitely put it into the 9.5. It's a woodland site over 60 acres called 6 Mil. And the thought that he puts into game areas is really, really, really good. He's put this new checkpoint thing down this hilly road, and it actually looks like a Second World War German checkpoint. Like the thought he's gone into, he's put a mock kind of like a barrier. You've got all the hex stuff in there. The bunkers have all got sandbanks around them. He's just put a new, they've got a real dense woodland area. So he's basically crashed an aeroplane into there and called it Pablo's plane and stuff like that. But these massive big crates around it and things like that. Really thought out. But they play a 2-hour game in the morning, which will have 5 or 6 objectives that are time sensitive. So they'll be triggered at certain points during those 2 hours. But because the site's so vast, you could be stood over there and then, we've nailed this one. But the next objective is 60 acres that way. So you've got to refight your way back through everything you just fought your way through. But then in the afternoon, you might go from needing a longer barrel gun into, I need something CQB because we're going to play a shorter half an hour, 40-minute games, and kind of go from there. And that's the other thing about having a decent FCU is you can change things up. I might need to use full auto a little bit more in the afternoon, so I can probably change that up into take it out of 3-round burst for full auto into proper full auto. You can change all sorts. I can in the morning I'll turn the dwell settings down, so I'm being a little bit more air efficient, whereas in the afternoon, because I want a more consistent and driven delivery, I can turn the dwell up. So I'm going to be wasting a lot more air, but I'm going to be getting a much more driven and consistent or efficient air delivery from that as well. So it just gives you that ability to, a click of a button, you can change it. Yes, with great power comes great responsibility, and I've already documented if you're the sort of idiots that's abusing that power. We all sign up for the rules. We all know what the limitations of things are. If you're going around breaking them, then just get off the airsoft fields. You're not doing anybody any favors, especially not yourself. So.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I mean, one knows or should know airsoft is a game of honor. 99.9% of the people use that system, because they enjoy the game and they enjoy both ways. So they don't want to ruin the experience, by being an asshole on the field.
No, and I get that. I generally don't think there is as many people that are going around and doing that. It was just part of the myth and legend that people do, and I think HPA got a bad rap because of that. I think one person.
Well, that's the thing. I think it's like people aren't going to, just because it's available to do doesn't mean they're going to do it. So you got HPA. You can very easily if it's locked, right? Once you get it chronoed, if it's locked, if your tank is locked, your regulator's locked, it's got like the little zip tie through there or whatever, you could cut that off easily and just turn it and back it up and make it shoot hot if you wanted to. Anyone could do that. Like majority of people aren't going to do that majority of the time. Hardly ever happens. Just because someone has the ability to, it's there, doesn't mean you're going to use it. It is. So this field sounds amazing, though. What you were talking about, Stormforce, that's one I've not heard of.
Based in the Midlands. It's really accessible to people. It's, like I say, it's gone through a bit of a change of identity. I think people still know it as Stormforce, but 6 mil is the new name for it. And I think what the main thing I would have said that it needed to improve on, because it's so vast, there was like just big, vast areas of openness. So like I said to you, the CQB areas, and then you got like another 100, 150 meters to get to the next one. What he's actually doing now is making that, rather than being 100, 150 meters to get to the next objective, there's probably 50 meters, then you're into the next CQB gaming area. So you then got to clear that before you then travel another 50, 60 meters to get to the next one. So what used to be a sniper's playground isn't necessarily a sniper's playground anymore, because there's a lot more cover, you can get around, and I think it suits a wider balance of players now, whereas they used to have a limit on how many snipers were booked on for the day, because you'd pull on the car park and it would look like there was a walking forest coming towards you, because there'd be that many snipers in ghillie suits. So yeah,
I can't imagine, dude. Like, okay, who's left to run through the wide open area of 150 meters for these snipers to shoot at? Okay, hey, it's your turn. Go, okay. Strip off that ghillie. Let's go. We need somebody to shoot at.
And I think that's the thing. I mean, I enjoy the challenge playing against snipers. I think they have got a big role to play in the sport, and it's actually quite good to play with them. The snipers that run with us, rather than kind of playing as lone rangers and just going to sit up on the upper right or upper left flank and shooting across anything coming, we quite like them playing kind of more of an overwatch role. So if we're clearing somewhere and we're kind of caught at a choke point, if you've got a sniper 10, 15 meters sat further back behind you, just clearing those people that you can't just reach, or somebody's peeking out the building, if they can just take one or two of those main players off the chessboard, and you can then push and clear arenas, that's a great way for us to play, or I suppose kind of like an advanced DMR role, really. And I think that's a great way for them to play, especially if there's a lot of bodies and they can't quite settle as a sniper, if that makes sense. I mean, I think that, it's a great skill. I couldn't do it. There's no way you could ask me to lay in a bush for 30 minutes and just probably get 2 kills and things like that. I just couldn't do it. I'm too noisy. I enjoy playing too much. And to be fair, I love getting in the mix on it. I love having to go back to respawn, because if there's nothing going on in the game, I will push. If I get hit, I get hit. But one thing I have got is I've now got a full observation of what's going on in that thing. As soon as I go back to respawn, straight on the radio. Right, guys, there's 3 in the main building on top there. He's there. There's a boat hiding behind there. He should pick me off. Let's go again and get them. And that's the main way that we play. I go back to the point we said at the start, that sometimes we get accused of pushing too hard. We can only push as hard as we're allowed to push. If we hit a choke point and people are pinning us down and pushing us back, then, but if something's wide open, we're going to steamroll an area, we will run in and we'll steamroll it. Like, there's no apologies from that. It's just the way we like to play. You were about black background. I used to play a lot of high level cricket, and I'm a sportsman. I love playing the sports. I stopped playing cricket because I got a little bit older, and as you kind of get a bit older, you lose that competitive edge, you come down the standards. And I couldn't play every week through work. I can play airsoft every probably 3 and 4, 3 and 5. And because I can pick it up and leave it as I need. Whereas if you're playing a team sport where it's a set 11 each week, you need that kind of availability. And airsoft kind of replaces that for me. There is this school of thought in airsoft that it's more of a hobby and a tinkering thing, and I definitely think that is a thing, and that is something that people should enjoy. You've got a great passion for the sport, and as you said, obviously you never actually played a skirmish day, but you've probably got more knowledge than most guys that turn up and play every week. I firmly believe that if you stand and listen to a game brief and the marshal stand there and go, right, we've got 20 blues, 20 reds. If you're signing up that, you've actually got to play that game brief for the whole sake of everybody else on the field. If you then decide, oh, I'm just taking part because it's a day out, I'm just going to sit and have a jolly shooting into the opposite field with my mates over here and not actually play a part in that game, I actually think that you should probably just go and stand and fire into the firing range. If you're signing up and you're saying, right, this is the objective that we're going to play, that you're firmly going to play that. And, you know, I have played days where halfway into the game, guys have just walked off the field and you're like,
what the hell?
What we're doing is yeah, it's like, this is a bit easy. And then you realise that people left the field 2 hours ago and you've been running around chasing things that don't exist. And that's the bit that frustrates from that. But by equal measure, as you probably find out, I love the techie side of it. I love the passion and the community that Airsoft provides us with. I think it's a very knowledgeable and insightful community. And one is actually quite welcoming as well, despite, you know, if you fall into the rabbit hole of a Facebook group, you can quite often have a different viewpoint on that. You know, it's a lot more wide-reaching than the cesspit of a Facebook group. Yeah, that is for me.
I was going to ask you about your gameplay style. I saw one of your where talking about playing objectives, and when you were talking about it with Def Row, you were like, "Yeah, absolutely, play objectives. If you're not playing objectives, just why are you here?" I got to tell you, I felt that. I connect with that 100% because whenever it's whatever sport I've played in the past or anything, I'm a pretty competitive person. Like, what is the mission? Okay, I can be pretty narrow-minded, right? Like, or focused on the mission. What are we supposed to do? What are we here for? And then the main mission is important. Everything else we can kind of adjust to get to the main mission and get it done. And this goes for video games. Like when I was playing Call of Duty years ago, okay, me and my boys would play Call of Duty together and we would play capture the flag or, the domination style where you're taking over checkpoints and everyone else is playing like Lone Wolf. I'm like, dude, no, we're trying to get this objective. Let's go. Like, what are you doing? If you're not here trying to do that, then go in another game mode. Okay. So I definitely understand that 100%.
I mean, just to add to that, and I think that the clip that Duke put out is actually quite clever in how he edits that obviously to get the attention from that particular clip. There is a caveat to that. Like, I appreciate not everybody's 25 and can, run 100 meters in sub 15 seconds and keep doing that. So in every attack and defend, unless you're playing an ultimate unlimited respawn pushback game where, yes, you have got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. But if you've both got an open base or capture the flag, for example, there are going to be to push roles to play. But play that role to the best of your ability. If you're going to be somebody who's going to be guarding our base or guarding our flag, bunker down, stay deep, stay concentrated, and play that to the best of your ability. Don't sit there having a cup of tea and start talking about how many blocks you put together on Fortnite last night or anything like that, or start shooting into the open field, giving you a position away because you want to tell everybody about your new Flamingo 60-degree hop-up that really shouldn't be in that gun anyway. But I think it's just one of those things that when you're doing that, just turn up and play, or even load up properly for it. Do you know what I mean? We see people turning up with these First World War rifles that they basically got the same capabilities in AR, but you've got it's almost like a musket. You've got 5 shots. Mate, we're playing defend. They've got unlimited respawns. You got 1 life. You take 5 shots, you're out the game. There is no point. And I'm literally going to be throwing guns and mags at you to keep you in the game and things like that. I think there is a massive part of the community, and there are plenty of events for people that want to turn up and play First World War replica kind of muskets and things like that. That's fair enough. But in a skirmish day, there's got to be a time and a place for it. Do you know what I mean? And things like that. And I take silly stuff to airsoft fields that, I'll mess around with at chrono or on the range and have a mess around with. But I would never, for the sake of letting the other guys in the team down or the other people that have signed up to play on the blue team, I wouldn't even dream of putting them at a hindrance. If anything, I carry I've got a dump pouch, so I carry in my dump pouch, I carry like a BB sock with do you have like bubble wrap? Do you have that in the States?
Yeah.
Bubble wrap. So I put a piece of bubble wrap in and I fill it full of 3,000 BBs. I always put them like just 2 5s or 2 8s, whatever I've got lying around the bottom of the bag. If I've got anybody out in the field that is stuck, I've always got a spare high cap for an M4 just in on me. It's got no BBs in. And if somebody like runs out of ammo, I'll throw them the high cap and I'll literally say, look, just fill that up with those BBs just so you can carry on playing and stuff like that. There's nothing worse than obviously people being left out of the game or they can't play or something like that. It's you got to keep the guys in the game, keep them engaged, and keep them pushing forward. And if anything, if that guy gets one kill while we're holding a building with that, it's done its job. Do you know what I mean? And that's the main thing we're pushing objectives. And I think again going back to this airsoft doesn't have to be this just 100% competitive sport, but in that moment it does. If that makes sense. If you, as soon as that whistle goes and you listen to the game, if you've got full right to go, look, I'm going to miss this game out. We have some older guys that play in our team, and if we're playing at, say, Outpost, for example, they'll play the first 5 games, but physically haven't got the capabilities to play the 7th or the 8th game. But they'll say, look, I'm not playing that. So when we measure up and we might be a bit short, then the marshals can balance the teams up. They're not then going out there and just sitting there and doing nothing. Because marshals can only do people can only make decisions based on the information that's presented to them. And if you know you're going to walk out 5 minutes into that game, don't bother. Just stay in the safe zone and tinker and have a drink or whatever. So we can keep things balanced and keep things competitive. Really.
Well, there's guys. Even some of the events I've been to here, they're 3-day mil sims, right? They're big mil sims out in the middle of nowhere, right? These AOs are pretty big. They'll have camping on site, right outside the AO. It's not a playable area, so they'll, people come in there. There's a lot of people that go to these. They buy the ticket, they get gear, they get all the, they have all this stuff they've been playing for years, and they'll go there and they'll literally play for like 2 hours on Saturday morning. And then they're done for the rest of the weekend. They'll get there Friday night. They hang out, right? Like with all their team and everything, but they're not really there to play that much. They're there for the whole camaraderie,
the social,
the whole camping, the social part, and that's cool too. Like what you're saying, when they go out there with their team, I mean, they're going hard. But then when that first break comes up after 2.5 hours play, whatever, there's some of these mil sims they'll do. They'll play for 2.5, 3 hours, and then they'll stop for like lunch or something. Then they'll go back out an hour later, that kind of thing. They'll do that about 3 or 4 times throughout the day and night. And then they'll play most of the day on Sunday. And of course, a Friday night game, stuff like that. But they're there for the social part, and they know they have a part to play on the team, and they do it well. So yeah, totally understand. But if you're going to be out there on the field, when you're on the field, like at least, even if you're just a support player, just at least be supporting the team or moving, doing something to support the objective play or whatever. Because it sucks when you're. What really sucks is when I played paintball years and years ago. Me and my buddies played for years. It was when all of us couldn't go out there, like our whole team couldn't get out there, and we had to play with randoms. Okay, and wide age range. Okay, from a 19, 20-year-old to a 35-year-old, whatever. And I was in my mid to late 20s at the time. And it is very different, not just skill levels, but ambition level. And that really sucks because when you're really trying to like, hey, let's go, and somebody's just really like not into it, you're like, bro, why are you here? Like, I don't get it. But like be passionate about what you're doing. Okay.
I think that what you just described there was the sole reason behind what we wanted to create. We were finding that it was affecting our days. You'd be playing against other teams, or because we were decent players, we'd be put in some places with all the rentals, and it'd be like us 4 plus a load of rentals versus 5 or 6 teams. And the thing, admittedly, we'd stick around up and go, look, we're up for the challenge. But it was one of those things where we thought if we were going to turn up with only 2 or 3 of us with that mindset, and as much as we love helping rentals and we'll take them with us and different things like that and help enhance their day, it was just having the ability that, we're turning off, and I'm really looking forward to going to Dirty Dog, which is renowned as I'm not going to renowned. I'm going to blow our own trumpet here. We ran a poll last year to guess the top 10 sites in the UK, and Dirty Dog came out by far and away the most well supported and well voted site, and it's the only one out of 10 we've not been to yet. Because it's so far away, we wanted to make sure, A, we had a decent presence, and B, that we kind of had a weekend of it. So we're going to go to No Man's Land, which we already loved, which also features in the top 10, and then obviously we're going to go there. But to be able to turn up there with a squad of 15 means that we're going to be able to enjoy the occasion better. Like, we went to a very good site, actually, called AP Plantation in Essex, and Airsoft in the South is played big boy style, which is good to see. They love an overkill. They love letting you know that they just let you up and stuff like that. And they've all got big boy toys and things like that. Everything's played to the limit and stuff. But we went down as a squad of 4. We played the Saturday game, but one of the lads had to return home for the Sunday because he was going to watch Coldplay. Personally, I played Airsoft instead of going to see Coldplay. Nice. We basically went into a site that was 250 plus players. We'd never played it before. We didn't really know where we were going or what we were doing. We were just really sort of dragged along for the ride. And the only regret we had is if we had turned up with a team of 8 to 10, because once we got bearings on the field, we would have had a bit more confidence to go, right, we can really push that objective for us as a team. Whereas going into it at 3, we were a bit like headless chickens. We're like, well, which way are we going to go? This way? And then we get picked off. And it was a bit difficult. I mean, we had a good day, really competitive games, but we just said that if we were going to go on a real long trip again, we'd make sure we went as a group, as a team, A, for the camaraderie, for the social travel, but that we could make a good of account ourselves when we were on the field as well. We want to add value to the field, and just taking a slight step back to the conversation we were just having is we feel that we have a duty of care to the airsoft site owners. These guys put a lot of time and effort in during the week to create engaging games, and they go through all the things that they want to make sure that we have a fully enjoyable day. And then it only takes 10, 15, 20 people to go, I'm just going to mess about today and ruin it for everybody. It isn't the 10, 15 people that get the bad names. It's the field that walk off, and people walk off and go, I'm never going there again. The locals walked off the field and they didn't like it, and their assumption is they didn't like getting slapped and things like that. It's not. It's just people just aren't signing up for what they're signing up for. You buy your ticket, you enter the raffle, and you've got to play. Do you know what I mean? That's the difficult thing for me. I couldn't think of anything worse. If I was a site owner, I'd spent all week coming to this amazing game, spent time and effort creating the field and people just mess about with it. It would break my heart. So I do feel for site owners out there, because it's not easy. We've got a couple on as guests, and there's a lot of time, effort that goes into it. Forget the money, forget all that sort of stuff. It's not cheap owning an airsoft field, but it's the blood, sweat, and tears that these guys put in behind the scenes. Yes, they're not all great. The vast majority of airsoft field owners in the UK, whether rightly or wrongly, they're putting the time and effort in for the people's enjoyment. They're in the sports entertainment business at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Thanks to them for making our Saturdays and Sundays fun, really.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, I've had a handful of field owners on here and talked with them, and you can really tell a lot of them are they're really passionate about what they're doing. Mm-hmm. They're really passionate. Like, they started out as airsofters, right? Yeah. They didn't start out as, I'm just out of high school, I want to run a business, I'm going to pick an airsoft field. No, they're really into it, and that's one of the things I love about the whole experience. When you go to these events, most of these guys that run events and run fields are really passionate about it because they played and they enjoy it so much. They're like, hey, I can do this, or I can run this event, or let's do this, let's try that. It's like built over time. Most of the fields, most of the event hosts, and they really enjoy what they're doing, and you can tell. It makes a difference.
The thing is, it isn't something you could just look at and go, oh, I could be an airsoft field owner. To write good games, to build fields, know what players enjoy, know the rules properly. That's another thing that astounds me. We will always give sights a fair crack of the whip. If somebody says to us, "Oh, it's decent," or we'll go at least once. It's amazing for me. For airsoft, we all know that there isn't any official regulation, but we're governed by the laws of what are the limits on FPS and what we're allowed to do, management engagement distances and things like that. It amazes me the variation that some sites place on things. So they'll basically, we go to some sites there, they deliberately play reduced power limits, and it's like your proper airsofters have literally dialed their guns in to operate at the best of their ability with the BB weight that they need to, and it needs to operate within that window of that sort of power limit for it to be. I think you go slightly off kilter, and it affects it massively. And I do think I understand to a point where people want to cater for everybody, and you're in the event management game. But if I turned up even on a corporate thing, so if somebody invited me on a corporate day, right, we're going to go here as a rental. What message are we showing as a that we're going to dumb it down for all the people that haven't got the best kit? It's like saying I'm going to sit up and play football, but because you aren't wearing proper boots, we're going to deflate the ball and we're going to make the goals smaller for you and things. And basically what they're going to do is they're not going to tackle you because it might hurt a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those things that if somebody's going to come in and experience what makes airsoft so good is if it hits you, it's going to hurt. And part of the experience of that is the first time you get hit. And, the amount of times I let a rental use my MTW and they can see the difference between what their rental gun is doing and what that does. And it's that it's the sheer magic in their eyes when they go, whoa, like that's the thing I want to get in. And that's the bit that gets people into the sport. It isn't the whole, and that was a bit of a damp squid because you've had to dial it down because they don't think that the other players like it or not. And I do actually appeal to the field owners because it's not actually them that are calling the shots and that. They're allowing their softer airsofters, should I say, call the shots and go, well, I haven't quite got the money to do that, or that hurt a little bit. I didn't want to wear face pro because it masked my goggles up and things like that. I just don't understand that. Like if you're worried about getting hit by a BB, then airsoft isn't for you. It's the same with cricket. I play cricket with people that are scared of the ball. Cricket is not for you. If you are scared of the ball, you are going to do yourself a mischief. I suppose
absolutely.
I suppose it's the same with baseball. If you're
same as baseball.
If you're scared of the pitcher standing on top of the mountain, they're going to let it rip at you, and you're scared. Get off the mount. Get off it.
Yeah,
it's not for you. Get off the plate. It's not for you. There's other sports for you, and that's my thing around there. So I come home, get in the shower, and if I haven't got at least 12 or pimples, then I haven't done my job. And they're part of the story. They're part of the stories on a Monday morning. I walk in the office and the guys are like, how was your weekend? Did you play this weekend? And blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you pull your shirts up and go, look at this beauty here. And it's like, oh, that's all part and parcel of the fun. I know there is the side of it. Some people don't like, being hit in the face. I mean, I work in the fashion industry in my real life. Me turning up with a big blob on my nose or a cut under my eye, that's not going to be a good look. But I sign up, and if I'm going to play indoor Hurt Locker, I have a full dye mask just for protection purposes. But if I'm playing woodland, I wear my blocks and I wear a face mask. And if somebody can get it in the inch gap, then best of luck to them.
Right.
But I would never turn around to somebody and, it does hurt when you get in the face, but I'd never turn around and go, you've deliberately shot me in the face. What the hell is up with you? It's like it's part of the game.
It is.
I'm 100% team headshots, and I just think it's very naive of people to suggest or even think that an airshot, headshot. I think if they want to play
you're behind
sports,
cover. That's what you're sticking out is your face.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things, and I think people are quite right. I'm wearing a rig here. This is a fully fledged plate carrier, and if I'm running, and I get a half glancing blow, I may or may not feel it or something. So somebody might very well just check me in the face and go, "Hey, dude, I'm sure I've hit you there," and things. And that's all part and parcel of it. And I speak to a number of people who, people will say, "Oh, you should always aim for centre mass." A number of people I know are aiming for here. That's all they're looking for, because that's how they're going to get the reaction. That's how they know that they're the things, and that's 99% of the time you've got a better chance of hitting that, because again, it's very rare you see somebody in open cover where the full body and the full legs are in full view. They're basically not. They're not playing angled very well. Let's put it that way.
Right. Well, I'm going to ask you about cricket. So when you guys, I've seen videos on it. I don't know all the rules and that kind of thing, but I've seen it played. I heard about it for years. I mean, it's a well-known sport. Is this something in the UK that like you guys grow up with? Is it like so like in America, baseball, you start, like we have leagues where they start at farm leagues where they're like 5, 6, 7, and they start t-ball, then they go into regular baseball. Little league is what we call it, right? And then they can continue all the way up through college, through into the pro leagues if they want. So we have all these steps, and the game pretty much stays the same. Do you guys, is it kind of part of your culture like that, where you can start at a young age with organized teams?
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to go back to my A-level physical education here. So am I right in saying in America you've got your big four? You've got American football, baseball, basketball, and ice hockey. Your big four. Cricket is part of our sort of big 3 or 4. So we've got soccer, cricket, rugby. Probably somewhere in there you'd probably have rugby league, which is a different version of that, or hockey. Not ice hockey. We don't have ice here, fortunately. Basically, it starts at grassroots. The local club that I still have an involvement with, they start the kids playing at the age of 8. It's not as done in schools as much as it should be, primarily because I think cost of entry for cricket is becoming more. It takes more, because obviously all the pads and things like that. I suppose a bit like ice hockey. If you want to be a goalkeeper and that, you've got to shed out a fair bit of cash to get started on it. But the structure goes from under 8 all the way through your thing. Then you play senior club level. When I say club, that's a bit like a golf club sort of thing. It isn't it's just the area that you play in. Anybody can do that. And then obviously they work through to a pyramid. And then a bit like we have counties in the UK, so it then goes into county level. And then obviously that's the top level. And as soon as you get to county level, you can go straight into the England international setup from there. So it's practically a really accessible sport to access international status, because there's only 18 professional counties in England. The chances of playing what we call first class professional level isn't that all good, but most clubs have got 1, maybe 2 club professionals that coach and do things like that as well. You can still make a decent living as a club professional from there, really. But I think cricket has gone through a bit of an identity pivot. It was very known as the sport of the gentry. You watch how the guys play it now with the invention of T20, which I think for the first time the USA are going to be taking part in the T20 World Cup. They can all throw it quicker. They have baseball fielding coaches, so they've all got bullet arms now. I think some of the guys have adopted more of a baseball style of hitting, because it's all about how far can you hit it and things like that. But then also the way that they bowl it, because obviously pitchers throw the ball, but in cricket they bowl it, and you've still got guys that can get upwards of mid-90s to 100 mile an hour, and you've got 22 yards. The ball has to bounce, so there's an added variation in that as well. Halfway down the pitch, if it deviates, hits a crack, and the ball's got a really pronounced seam through it. So when the ball is new, if it hits the edge of that seam, it can sometimes go 2 or 3 inches the other way. Yeah, it's difficult.
Sure.
Especially if there's a bit of dampness in the air, and a bit like baseball, the stitching makes it curve and things like that. So we have swing. So you've probably got 0.25 of a second to get in line with it, and if it moves 2 inches in the air, you look daft because you've missed it. So we're quite fortunate we don't have 3 strikes. It's you can play and miss as many times as you want, as long as the 3 poles behind you are still intact. You're still
Oh, okay.
So all good for that, really. But yeah, it's a good sport. I actually think it's a bit like airsoft in a way, because I actually think it's the ultimate game of life, because it's an individual game, a bit like baseball, but in a team environment. So it's all about how you can perform on an individual level, but how much can your individual performance have as on the team dynamic, if that makes sense. So you can have a really bad day individually, but you still go out and field and catch a load of catches and have a good day in the field, and you can still have a positive impact on the sport and things like that. And I think that's a very good life lesson, that sometimes if things aren't going your way, but if you maintain your core principles and things like that, you can still have a positive impact on the results and things like that. And I know I've learned a lot through life through cricket. And I'm not from a privileged background. I grew up in an old miner's estate. The old man was a miner. We didn't have a lot of money, and it was through friends and stuff that I got into cricket. And I didn't have all the best gear and things like that. But by socializing with people that had done well in society and things like that, I learned lessons the right way and realized there was a way out of that, really, and there was something better than kind of just settling second best, if that makes sense. So I played that all the way through till I was 40, and then career and things like that didn't allow me to play every weekend during the summer. And then obviously I found airsoft. I played that for a while just as a social thing. It kind of took a bit of a grip for a hold sort of 2-3 years ago, and it's never really sort of looked back. I probably played paintball probably 200 times on a corporate level. Kind of, used to work in recruitment way back when, corporate headhunting. It seemed like every other week I'd be invited to a paintball event that was kind of like a corporate charity thing, and things. You kind of get a bit of a habit of playing combat games and the dynamics of it and things like that. But I think airsoft for me was my way of replacing cricket on a social level as well, if that makes sense.
Sure.
If I'm doing something, my partner will always say, why is it always going to be you? Why have you got to be obsessive about something? And I think that's part of my personality. I've got a very obsessive personality. If I'm in, I'm all in. If I'm out, I'm all out. I'm all or nothing with it. So one thing I found, especially with airsoft, is you can do a little bit of everything with it. And I also think it has a great stage of where airsoft is wherever it wants to be. I think paintball has shown where it can go on a professional level, rightly or wrongly. I think Speedsoft and the Speedsoft arena is showing that there can be a competitive element to it in a tournament landscape. But I also think airsoft has a real big opportunity bridging the gap between kind of that milsim aspect. Some people have got their own different opinions on milsim. Not just if you play airsoft. I'm talking people think that the military aspect shouldn't be replicated for playing toy guns as an adult is not a good thing, I think. But I think airsoft as a hobby and as a because again an education background is, for me, the tinkering of the guns is very STEM, which is science, technology, English, and maths. So it's very, very engaging that way. I also think it's got a very good way of looking at team dynamics in a different way, because it's problem solving. As we go back to the game briefs, how are we going to attack this objective? How are we going to do this as a team? What's my role within that team? Communication in terms of achieving that. So obviously through radios and comms, you give out the wrong call, you call out wrong, you've just probably killed somebody. And then obviously just leadership. You can't sit back and let everybody else do it for you. You've got to take leadership, and leadership isn't a quality that we're all born with. It's more of a mindset and a thing. I think airsoft has got a very unique landscape in how that can be pushed forward, especially the kids that don't want to play mainstream sport. I think a lot of the kids that love video games and things like that, airsoft is a very good way of getting them out of that chair, utilising the skill set that they have playing games in a physical landscape. And I think I see that in our team. We've got probably 4 lads that are under the age of 18, and they They know Call of Duty inside out. They know Battlefield inside out, and they're great players because of that. Do you know what I mean? Like they've been brought up on capture the flag. They've been brought up on domination. They've been brought up on battle royale. So you tell them that they've got clear objectives. You stick them on comms. They can call out better than anybody. They know how to push. They know how to rotate. They know how to create angles. They know how to. They know all the guns as well. You know, they know all these things off by heart. They know how to use pyro. They're not allowed to use it, but they know how to use it and stuff like that. And I think it's a great thing that Airsoft has to give. It just needs a platform. I don't think social media helps with the way, because of the sales of goods and the restrictions on the tactical gear and the guns. It gets an unfair rap. I do think when you have to navigate, it is a free tool, but I think it just gets a bit of an unfair rap, which stops it getting out there and being a little bit more mainstream. And I also think the community could probably be a bit more welcoming in terms of making it mainstream. I think there are certain courses in the community, as much as it is a good community, kind of want to keep it as their own little best kept secret sort of thing, if that makes sense. It's kind of Airsoft isn't just for ex-military guys that want to go ooh-ah all the time. It's people that just want to turn up and play and have fun. And yes, running around in the camo is good because I want to get that momentary drop if somebody can't see me through the tree line. But that's about as close as the military apparel kind of goes as far as that for me, really.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's a lot of people. I love how diverse it is, and how it gives an option for these guys that maybe I worked with a lot of guys here that wanted to go in the military after high school, and they couldn't. Medical, they were on some medication, or maybe something happened to their family, and they never had that opportunity. This is one of the only things you can do, that you can pretend military for a weekend or a day or whatever. And I mean, it's a great option, and it's a good option for a lot of these guys that, like you said, that couldn't play organized sports in school or didn't want to, you know, and the welcoming community kind of thing helps with these guys getting out there and feeling like a part of something bigger than themselves, that they never really had that experience before in school, because, you know, they were part of a couple, 2 or 3 friends together that maybe, you know, they were picked on and they weren't part of the main group. I think maybe that's part of hesitation with wanting Airsoft to be like mainstream or popular is not really a fun thing for them, you know, for a lot of people. Yeah, it's kind of more of an escape, like, hey, let's go do this. And
just on those 2 points there, this is part of why I think some of the competitive element, they don't want that, because people go into Airsoft or video games because, rightly or wrongly, they don't want that team dynamic. Just general personality traits. People enjoy being more of a lone person. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just some people are more introverted and don't like being the group extrovert. And there's a role within that, and that comes back to that play your role within that. You know, you can still be a lone ranger. Like, I'll just sit at the back and I'll make sure I guard the flag. I'll push round to the left, and you tend to find quite a few of the snipers play that sort of role. They'll bunker down. They're quite happy in their own company and kind of just taking that part of the role. And then that's absolutely fine with that. But then going back to what you were saying about Airsoft being escapism, I'm very vocal in my opinion that I actually think it's the ultimate escapism, because of how immersive the sport is. From the gear, you know, as soon as the physical barrier of walking out of a safe zone into a game zone quite often has a solid barrier, like a netting or something like that. And there's nothing quite like a positive distraction than a BB whistling past your nose at up to 500 feet a second to make you realise that I'm not worried about whether I loaded the dishwasher before I came today or something like that. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things that you're in it. If a flashbang or a mag flash lands at your feet, you know you're in the game. It's one of those things, and that for me is the thing that I really enjoy about it. Is it gives me the ability to, you know, forget all the competitiveness, forget everything else. It's that escape. You know, my mind for 6-8 hours, however long the game is firmly fixed on what we're doing on that day. And then, gives me a chance then obviously to forget about work, forget about family, forget about all the troubles that you've got going on in the world. It gives you the ability to do that. And then obviously, I'm always a bit nervous about talking about sort of mental health. I don't feel I can talk about my own. I just don't think I'm well qualified to talk about anybody else's. But for me, it gives me that escape. And for that 6 to 8 hours, I don't have to. I can get outside of my own head rather than being inside it, thinking all the time. And I think that's the thought process that people have regarding airsoft being good for people's mental health. Obviously there's a big difference between mental health and the clinical anxiety and depression element to it. I'll let more qualified and diligent people talk about that, but the bit where they talk about it's good just to get out and be around people and get some good positive noise around you, and that's the part of going back to the Headless Chicken Squad. I'm proud of our group from that, because we're very inclusive, we're very welcoming. I think our oldest player is in his 60s, and our youngest is like 14. That's how you sick him a CQB arena, he'll clear zones. He's a sneaky little bugger, and he knows how to do things. He's very quiet. He's always the first one to an objective. He knows what he's doing. Way more so than some of the guys that are in the 30s that have only not been playing that long, because he lives and breathes combat games. He knows what he's doing. But the group are good. We can always tell when people are going through the downtimes of it, if they go quiet in the WhatsApp groups and things like that. I've had it a few times where I'll just drop somebody a quiet DM and say, look, mate, if you're available this weekend, I know you probably don't feel like talking to anybody, or if you've got stuff going on, I'm coming to pick you up and you're coming, whether you like it or not. If you're a little bit short of the money or whatever, I'll pay for your game fee. You come in, just come have a good day out with us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just get outside your own head, and we'll go for a beer after. And if you feel like talking, you feel like talking. If you don't, you don't. But at least it gives them that escape from whatever's going on at home.
Absolutely, man, for real. Well, that's what I get from doing these podcasts. I get that feeling. I get that kind of camaraderie, when I'm talking with somebody on here, and so it's a whole dynamic that happens when we share this experience, I guess, with somebody else that's into it as well.
Yeah, and it comes back to that. I keep to. Some people don't really like the term like-minded people, because they think it's more of, I don't know, like a hardline way of thinking, or kind of like that. We can be like-minded people in certain parts, but not in others.
Sure.
At the end of the day, if you've only got to be like-minded with people who want to run around and start shooting BBs and slinging plastic and talking about guns, all that sort of stuff. But we can all have differences of opinions and lives. In our team, we've got plumbers, we've got mortgage advisors. I work in fashion. We've got people that are property developers. We've got people that work on dairy farms. There's all sorts of different things. So once we're away from the field, we've all got different political agendas. We've all got different things. But for that 8 hours, we're all like-minded people that want to turn up. We want to play hard. We play for the colour that we're wearing on the sleeve at the time, and we just have a ball. We have a laugh, and I think that's the most important thing that I remind everybody. It's a game, it's airsoft, and we do things and things from that. But I think on that, I think it's something that before we go into talk, we go back to the start when we talk about about HPA, people turning things up and cheats and things like that. One thing that I've learned is I can get quite competitive. I get white line fever. I'm probably the worst one for it. And sometimes, I do feel that cheat calling is bad. I think there's certain times where it needs to be said, and people will always say, "Oh, come on, dude," or whatever. But ever since I started running cameras, I have got a newfound appreciation, understanding that 85% of the bullets that your BBs that you fire do not hit the target. They might look like they do, but they don't. And it's amazing how many just slide between the ear and the neck, and how glide past or go in between arm and wrist and things like that. And I think that's kind of the thing that I've kind of started to appreciate more. From that point, really, there's all these people going, "Oh, is it cheating that?" and blah blah blah. And I think 85% of it. Don't get me wrong, there are people that you do hit, and I've put a couple of clips out there where people are kind of bang to rights, so we say, and have made a choice not to. I think it's one of those things that we need to kind of have a little bit more faith in the community with that as well. I know it's definitely changed the way I look at it. You know, my games are a lot more calm, a lot more chill now, because I will always check and wait to see if something's hit the target and landed and things like that. It just comes back to there's a lot more like-minded people on that field that you might think, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's the hit calling. I mean, that's obviously a big thing. When I first started this channel and these guys started getting into this stuff, I saw one of the very first YouTube channels I saw was Airsoftology. Okay. Jonathan runs the channel for years. I think he lives in Taiwan, and he had patches out. Like his tagline was "Call your freaking hits" or something like that, right? Like at the end of his episodes or whatever. I thought, what is he talking about? Like I was legit ignorant to all this stuff. I come from played paintball years ago. We played a lot, and calling your hits, like nobody ever said, "Hey, you call your hit." Like that never came up. Just now, I didn't play all the time. I probably played 100 games in the 5 or 6 years that I played. So, I mean, I played enough, but I just thought, what the hell? Like, why is everyone in Airsoft saying call your hits? I didn't understand. And then I started seeing videos on it, and I'm like you can clearly see somebody, they're bouncing off of these guys, and they're just like, they look, and then they look back and start playing again. I'm like, bro, come on. So, yeah. And then I was talking with somebody, what you said a minute ago about when you started getting a camera and you started seeing like your shots going, okay, most of them aren't hitting. I was talking with somebody a couple months ago, and they the same thing. They were like, man, I was so mad that this person wasn't calling her hit. And I looked at my GoPro footage and I was like, oh shit, I didn't actually hit him. So it was veering off or going in between or something like that it did the same thing you were talking about.
Yeah, again, it comes back to education. It's experience. I mean, it comes back to gaming. We all play Call of Duty more, XP and stuff like that. I genuinely think there's an unwritten XP in airsoft. Like, people tell you until you go blue in the face, and I've always been, I'm not that bothered about running cameras and different things like that. And then when we started doing the podcast and things like that, people were like, come on, just get some gameplay. You clearly know what you're doing with the camera and stuff like that. Let's get some gameplay. And I didn't really want the additional weights and thinking about it on the day. And sometimes I do forget to turn them on. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things I'm still learning that skill set to go, right, sync cameras, we're all on and we're going. So there isn't as much footage out there that I would like at the moment, or I forget to turn one on, so I'm only playing 2 or 3 cameras. But I think it's one of those things where it helped me just from that education. I think within the first 5 minutes of actually scrolling through the scope cam, brought into the office, I was like, lads, I'm going to put this camera on my computer, man. Look at this cheating, blah, blah. And then they're like, where? And I'm literally looking at the camera, and there's about 5 people huddled around me going, come on, show me. And they're like, where? None of them hit him. I'm like, what? Do you mean that's definitely hitting? That definitely like. They're like, no, dude, it's like missed his head, or it's done this, or where that one just about clipped his shoulder and stuff like that. And it's one of those things where you like it's just that sort of education, because the human eye, when you've got a projectile that big, once it goes past sort of 40 meters, even though it might not look like it's dropped, you can't quite see until you do zoom in on the 4K, and you can literally just watch it just glide on by, hit the objective behind, or the obstacle behind him and things. And it does change things. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got some friends that, well, I say friends, people that we play against regularly that have always been put up to questioning. That I have got some absolute bang to right footage on. That so I'll get out of my chest. I shared it on the story of the week. So basically, there's a guy that we played against an unknown site. I'm going to try and take all reasonable precautions, not to kind of name the guy here, but we played at an undisclosed site, and we played a domination, a pushback game where if I said I got him 40 times, I'm being generous. And he's then gone behind the first batch of cover, popped his head back out the second time, and I've got him a few times then. And then a teammate of mine is playing literally 2 meters to my left. On the footage, he lights him up. And then somebody throws a grenade, blows him up. And literally, we're talking half a meter away, blows him up. He then pops his head around the corner and lights me and my friend up. And I've gone ballistic at the time, completely ballistic.
I would too.
I've literally, I don't want to, I hate swearing, but I've gone, bleep, dude. You could always call yours, you know. I've gone to the marshal, I've gone, Luke, that guy, all dressed in black, joke. I said, like, I'm fuming. That's the point. I'm apologising. I'm ranting at you because if I go rant at him, I'm probably going to get off the field. So we go into we play the next part of the pushback. Anyway, I forgot about it by then. So we go into the safe zone, and he comes over to me. He said, "You look really agitated in there. I've come to defuse the situation." I said, "I've calmed down a bit now, mate, but I'm just going to tell you, like, I'm not 100% sure how many times, but I'm plus 10. I've got you, not in the rig. Like, there's two where your glasses nearly fall off your face. I've hit you that hard." And he's like, "If you did, mate, I'm sorry. It's probably hit me in the HBA tank on the back." And I'm like thinking to myself, I can't really be asked to argue with you anyway. So we get into the office on the Monday morning, and it's all anybody's talking about in our WhatsApp group about my kind of stampede across the thing. And I'll share you the link. I've got it on YouTube. I haven't listed it publicly. I share it to people who, because I don't actually want it going anywhere, but I'll share it to people who haven't got it just for context. So
yeah, I want to see
he
it.
then says, he then marches over to the marshals, then go over to have a word with him because apparently I'm not the only one that's complained. And he's like, "Oh no, I've already been over there and diffused the situation." And then I hear him in the car park on the way home, and, "Oh, that's the guy that was having a hissy fit about me." He goes, "Got nowhere near me, blah, 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 blah." Goes from there. So anyway, he then says to me as I'm walking past the car, "Oh, I'm playing a night game. It's another site that we play at soon. Are you going to come to that?" I said, "Oh, I can't come to that. I'm a little bit busy." I was genuinely busy. And then I should have gone to one 3 weeks ago. And I couldn't, the traffic, it's like an hour away from here outside of work. And I got out of work 20 minutes later, and the traffic basically stopped me from going, really. So anyway, set my excuses. And one of the lads that was playing in the team while we were at the boozer at the end of 6 mil the other week says, "Oh, I met a friend of yours at the night game." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Didn't know there's any of my friends going. All my friends are playing the team." And he said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "He wants to join the team, but he doesn't get on with you. Because apparently you've got a video of him not calling his hits, but he's the most honest person ever. He's got friends in the military. He always calls his hits and things like that." I was like, right, well, I'm really not taking it. So anyway, almost like goaded me to show the video. And I was like, literally, I posted that on my story. I was just kind of in the car on the way home, and people were like, please post the video. I shared it to a couple of people, but it's the point where it's actually embarrassing. I have edited a little bit and put a few memes and things in there with it as well, but it'll just be for friends only. I don't want to be the guy that sends stuff out there that of people cheating. I don't think it kind of gets there. There are moments in it, and there is obviously the open-ended part of maybe they didn't feel it. You know, sometimes if you are running, there are the odd times where, you know, I've got good 4-inch plates in this, and sometimes you don't feel them. But going back to what you were saying, it's the ones where the glasses move, or they get in the face and they duck and they move, and it's like, and you can see them wincing and stuff, and then they stop, check around, see if anybody's looking, and then they move on again. It's like, it's comical, to say the least on that. And again, in degrees, I haven't really got a problem if it's 50 meters away from the objective and they're basically not going to achieve anything. It's the ones where they literally storm in a building, you know you've let them up, and then they turn around and shoot everybody and go, "Oh, that's it, I've cleared the building." It's like, mate, you wouldn't, like, literally nowhere near. Do you know what I mean? That's where you're actually cheating to mess the game up for everybody, really. That's the bits it gets from that. But I'll tell you what's good from the game footage point of view, is just reviewing how you read games as well, like, because you see things going on in the background, especially with obviously the shoulder cams and the reverse cameras. You see your position of how people are around you and how you're approaching obstacles, how you can play angles and stuff like that. It's always good to gauge from that point. And then you do see people online that tell really good stories through cameras as well. Some of the storytelling on the gameplay, I think, is exceptional and very, very watchable. I think I'm a long way away getting to the good storytelling part, but I'll need to get my editing on point before we kind of get to that, really. But,
well, that story you just told me is great. I mean, I'm all in, right? I want to see this dude now, because I'm the kind of personality type, like you were saying earlier, you know where your partner says, "Why are you going so much into it?" Like, I'm the same way. My wife, we've been married 31 years. She's like, "Why you always have to go gung ho on everything?" I'm like, I'm all in or I'm all out. Okay. Like, that's it. It's on or off. I don't have an in between. So it's that's it. Okay. And she married me when I was in the military. I still had 2 years left. She knows. She just likes to say that because she knows it bothers me. But I'm the kind of personality type. I like closure. I like definitive answers. I like understanding how things work. And when somebody, like when you're telling me the story of this dude, bro, oh no, I'm gonna keep walking towards you. If I played airsoft, I think maybe this is why I don't want to play, because I would probably just make a fool of myself, because I'd be so pissed that somebody didn't call their hit like that. I'd be like, dude, no, we're not doing this. Okay, like, you're a grown man, let's go. Okay, I'm just gonna try to punish you until you say okay. Like, I don't get this ignoring it. Like, that's just oh no, I can't even do it, man.
People laugh at me when I say calling hits there's a skill, because you see so many people that will go hit and they don't put their arm up and they don't move and then moan. You've never seen people scream as much as they go, I've already called them hits, because you've just stuck another 20 round in them because you're waiting for the arm to go up. Like, flicks it, I don't care if it flicks you shout hit and you put your arm up and you move. Like, literally still lie down or leave it open for chance. There's a thing for it. And I think that's probably the appreciation I got for people that play a bit further south of the country. They will shoot you until you call your hit. Like, they'll just keep shooting it, and and then people go, oh, there's overkill, and it's like, yeah, but if I think that's conducive to, if you're literally, in the first thing, 0.5 of a second your arm should be up. If you're then leaving it 2 or 3 seconds, you probably are going to get another 20 rounds that hit you in an uncomfortable place. And if you're leaving it for 2 seconds, if somebody's got a drop on you, they might have probably hit your center mass, but they'll gradually be able to move up a couple of inches and get you in the uncomfortable parts of your neck and things like that. And that's when it starts hurting and things like that. Yes, calling your hits, there's a skill set to it.
That's a good way to put it. It really is, because calling your hit isn't just verbal. It's when you raise your hand, because there's a lot of people I have on here that I talk with that say,
and noise.
No, on our field, we shoot until they raise their hand. Like that. That's just how it is. Like, there's no, because overshooting, like somebody says, what's the overshooting? 3 BBs, 4 BBs, whatever. It's like, no, it's there's not really overshooting. People, you shoot until they raise their hand. And really call it. I was talking with Freddie Lux, who runs Veterans for Airsoft over here. It's a charity group that puts on big events. He hosts large events. And he said, people are always talking about call your hit, or that kind of thing. He's like, learn how to die better, right? Like what you're talking about, like, it's a skill too. One of the things that his guys do, him and his guys, they get into the role play of it. So when they get hit, they're like falling on the ground, holding their leg, medic, like they're all in. They're not just like, okay, hit. It really does add to the effect. And you're probably not going to get overshot if you do that, No.
And that's the thing. Like, I'm a firm believer in, if I know I've been shot from distance and I know it's a single shot and that's taken a level of skill, I'll go hit, good shot. I don't really know where it is, because you don't really want to give the sniper position. I've been shot with back, or when I won't turn around a point, go, yo, dude, great shot. It's always up. I go, cheers, bud, or whatever. I think it's always a good thing for that. But going back to cheat calling as well, I think it also has airsoft has also got a responsibility. So going back to what we said at the start about how we always make a lot of noise on the field, and we always kind of we're in big numbers. And one thing I've noticed over the last sort of probably 6 months, we never ever got any of it at the beginning. When we were just starting, there was probably 10, 15 of us and we were moving around. We never got anything. As we've kind of started the podcast, and I did a video that kind of went quite viral. I kind of went straight into the camera and went, yo, are you a cheat? Get out of airsoft, sort of thing. And I wasn't really aiming at people not calling the hits. It was more the guys that were clearly going onto the field to hurt people by turning HVA tanks up and lying about BB weights and things like that. Because it was on the back of a conversation about chrono, dual creep, and all that sort of stuff. And kind of since then, it's kind of people have gone, you're this, you're that, blah, blah, blah. And now when we go on the field sometimes, there have been a couple of times where we'll go onto a field and I will physically go up to the side turn and go, look, it's 15 of us on the field today. I don't feel that you can't kind of come and speak to us. If you have any issues with any of our guys or whatever, come and speak to me. I'll vouch for every single person that's in here. They've all been given a brief. They've all been literally, because we're that visible now, literally, even if it's on something where you're only 20% sure or uncertain that there was something in it, just call it, just walk away. We'll just respawn and we'll kind of go from there. So again, little story on that. I went to the site owner because the previous time we've been there, there was somebody at the site that was renowned for not hit calling. You can actually talk to Andy about the same sites that he's got some good videos of people not taking hits there. The locals are really renowned for it. Called one of our lads for not hit calling, but at the same time, our guys would there was 5 of them putting a formal complaint in against this guy for being really aggressive on the field, not taking hits, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, the field owner, I was there on that day, but the field owner rang me during the week because I was speaking to him about something else and just said, look, I just had it. It's the first time I've ever had it, but I've had the same guys on 3 occasions called your guys out for not hit taking. So I've gone, look, I'll vouch for everybody. I apologise. Next time we're on site, if there's an issue, speak to me. So I goes up to him on the site day and said, look, I've got 15 on today. I can't babysit them all, but I promise you I'll vouch for them all. Blah, blah, blah. Going 10 minutes into the first morning game, one of our guys gets put in a sin bin. I'm like, what? Not for hit calling, but basically because he got into a disagreement about somebody else not hit calling. They both kind of got a bit of animosity. And then after about 2 seconds, kind of went, we're both being dicks. Let's just shake and make on it. But the marshal had kind of come over at the point where they'd heard the commotion and they were kind of shaking and working hands. So he just said, look, there's loads of kids around here. I'm going to have to take you to the sin bin and stuff like that. And then obviously I bumped into the site owner about 20 minutes later. I'm walking back to respawn. He went, I need to speak to you about one of your lads. I said, yeah, I've just heard it over the radio. There's one in sin bin and stuff like that. He said, like, fair play. We all get hot-headed, blah, blah, blah. They were kissing and making up and they're taking it like a champ and then moved on from there. I just said to him throughout the day, I said, look, it's one of those things. We'll always be the noisiest on the field. We'll always be pushed forward and things like that. And we're always, as we grow and as we keep saying things on the podcast, we're always going to be there to be shut down. And obviously we're conscious of that and we're aware of it. But every single person on our team is briefed and warranted that, you know, if anybody's caught on camera, fair enough, if it was one that glinted his shoulder or something like that, it wasn't, you don't feel it. But if it's anything that's like blatant, like we're talking about, you'll just be removed there without even hesitation because, you know, we put a lot of time and effort and put in what we want to, and we don't want like death by association, if that makes sense. And to be fair, over the time, there's been a couple of guys that have come on board who are no longer with us anymore because they've come on board and they've not shown the qualities that we want, if that makes sense. You know, they're not nice people to be on the field, not nice to be around, they're rude to people in the safe zone, things like that. We'll welcome people with open arms, but we'll always say goodbye to that thing. There's no place for that. You know, there's white line fever, play hard, play fair. As soon as you get in the safe zone, you know, see one person struggling. Like, I've always got extra face pro in my bag and stuff like that. People always forget kit and stuff like that. And if somebody's taking a knock in the morning, I'll always say, you can borrow my stuff or whatever, because it's a long, you know, most people travel over an hour to a game day. It's a long way to go home if you've forgotten something or something like that. It's just all part of it. So I can guarantee, you know, I'm not the most organised person on the planet. There's always something that I've forgotten, and you know, you treat people as you hope to be treated back, really, and stuff like that. And that was the way I was brought up. Might have come from lesser beginning, but then those morals of getting up and treating those as you'd like to be treated in a good way moving forward, really. And I think the vast majority of airsoft is like that, and I think it's got, as I've already said, it's got a great opportunity to progress and push forward if more people come into it like that.
Absolutely. I think that's it's a really good thing with these airsoft teams like you guys that are you know, trying to get other players in, and you're vetting them. Like you are, you're kind of putting them through a little bit of a probationary period, right? To see how they're going to be and see if they fit well with the team. There's a lot of people I've talked with on here that when they run teams, or, you know, they've been a part of a team for a long time, they start their own team or whatever, they want the team to embody this kind of character, right? These traits. And they'll, I've talked to some team, there's a team in Florida the tryhards. Your members to become a member, they have like a whole regimented tryout thing. They have to do pretty extensive physical type of obstacle course, quote unquote, with them, and also go to certain, maybe a mill sim or something like that, an event with them to become part of the team. So they're really, it's like a high standard, right? And then other teams where they don't have those type of standards. Like, okay, you can just be part of the team. You got to follow this kind of love and respect on the field, honor, right? Call your hit kind of thing. But that's the bare minimum is for all these teams, for somebody to be a part of it, is call your hits, be honorable, be respectful, right, on the field. I mean, what a good culture to create for younger people in general coming out of high school or in high school, coming into the world where they want to get into a hobby that promotes respecting others and having fun and having some passion about what you're doing, and being part of that team that is promoting good manners, good respect, like good character, the whole thing, man. It is wild. But yeah, there's some out there that for whatever reason, maybe they're not grown up yet, mature enough. Maybe they had some crap happen to them as a child, right? When they're growing up, like maybe their big brother shit on them all the time, their parents crapped on them all the time, whatever. And they're not ready for that kind of stuff. They need to get some anger out. I don't know. But they're not very many. Most people that really want to be a part of this community, they really do love being part of that, love and respect about it.
I think, like, the amount of time, like, we've got, I'm trying to think, we've got 4, father and son, like, duos in the squad. And it's great watching, that. No, I think there's 5 now. So it's great watching that relationship. It kind of gives them a structured environment. And there aren't many sports where a kid at 13, 14 can still play with his dad in his 40s, 50s and, have that kind of, that bonding time. And I think it's really important that, it would have been quite easy for us to go down that route and say, right, if you want to join, you've got to have an MTW, you've got to use this, you've got to use that, you've got to be able to run 150 meters in sub 20 seconds or whatever, you've got to be able to bench press 150 and stuff like that. And we have got some lads in there that are absolute units and they can do that. But that's not necessarily about what we wanted to do. As long as people are willing to turn up, play the objective, play hard, play fair, and be honourable and respectful for people. And we were a little bit, we've gone one step further than just having a team. Is we've actually introduced a rank in the system. So with the Headless Chicken Squad, and you can actually acquire what's called Rooster rank. And there's only really 4 criteria to hit that. Is play regularly, and that is obviously regularly within your own circumstance. If you're on a weird shift pattern, you can play 1 and 4, but you turn up and play 1 and 4, kind of having a positive impact on the team. So it's got nothing necessarily about your skill level of playing, but if you can have a positive impact on the team, if you're the sort of person that interacts in the WhatsApp groups and kind of helps and does things like that, and the sort of person that helps and adds value outside of the field. So we've got guys that don't necessarily play much, but they're like awesome gun techs. We've got people that are cameramen. We've got people that are great at setting the administration up in the back scenes. There's times where I can't play for 5 or 6 weeks, but I'm always in the background doing socials and podcasts and stuff like that, where I can't give up my weekends and stuff. And we've got 9 guys out of the 40 that qualify for Rooster rank at the moment, and we're quite happy that we'll have our weekly team event. As we grow, we understand that not everybody's in the same town. We're over kind of like a 50, 60 mile radius, the team. So if some guys are going off in that direction, but they need to be back for a birthday party and they're going in that direction, we're quite happy to have multiple Headless Chicken Squads out that weekend, but there has to be one Rooster hosting that game. They're like the point of call on site with the site owner. Again, just from an association point of view and kind of give that. And it's happened 2 or 3 times already where, as we grow, we will end up being to the point where there's 3 or 4 squads out at different sites and events and different things like that. And that's all we want to try and do with it, really. And we've kind of reassessed where we want to be. Like I openly said at the start here, I thought we'd probably get to about 50. And Paul was like, no, we'll settle at 30. Nobody else will want to join. going back to what you were saying about vetting, I've got 5 guys that are yet to come. So what will happen is, say, for example, somebody's listening to this podcast and they wanted to join the Headless Chicken Squad, they would reach out to us. Somebody in the team would then give them a call, just have a general chat with them about airsoft and the background and stuff like that. We'd invite them to a game day. They wouldn't run as a member, but they would run on the blue team or the red team, wherever we're playing with. We'll see how they get on, what they're like as a person. Are they pushing the objective? Are they doing whatever? If they get on well and they feel there's a good match between the two, they'll be given their patches on the day. They can come to the next game day, and then we kind of see how they get on. And obviously they're then under assessment then, how many games they're going to turn up with, how they contributing to the team, what they're doing. So we've obviously got expectations of how they do it. If they come to us and say, look, I can play once a month. Or... Have you got any thoughts or anything that you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, man, it's been a great conversation. Yeah, you're a cool dude, man. It's great meeting you.
Thank you, and likewise. And then obviously we'll, for those of you, obviously this is the last episode of season 1 of the Airsoft podcast for the Headless Chicken Squad. The reason we've done split it into one season is I really want the podcast to evolve moving forward. This was kind of really like a test pilot season, just to get some guests on, learn some stuff. But same as my airsoft journey, I've got the bug. So season 2, I'll be back with better cameras, better headsets, better mics, without giving too much away, a purpose-built studio and set, which will be mega awesome. The frames got built yesterday. I'm just bringing some props and stuff for that, and then also just bringing on some boards, some more awesome guests, really. If you look in the room behind me here, this will actually become the studio.
Okay.
So we'll be able to do a 4-person guest studio as well. So that's kind of like awesome. The thought process behind it. And really, I didn't know if the podcast was going to go anywhere at all, but it's been very well received, and everybody is getting on board with it, really. And I reckon I probably get 4 requests a week to come on the show and stuff like that. And because I know what I want to try and do in season 2, which make it more and more regular, and obviously being able to bring people into the studio and actually be able to take it on the road as well. I want to be able to turn up on game sites and in the morning at lunch or wherever, just bump into anybody cool, just have them, just interview them there and then, and just put them into the show and do some more rigid format, really. So for those of you that have been listening and watching and staying tuned for the last 12 episodes, thank you very much. The Airsoft podcast wouldn't be about without you. Please make sure you do all the things that we ask of you normally. Hit the notification button. Please like, comment. If you know anybody who knows anything about Airsoft and you think that they would be having any value added by listening to the podcast, please hit that share button, copy that link, post it in somebody's inbox, and then let's keep sharing the good ship Airsoft, really. Erik, thank you for having me on the show. I can't believe we've been talking for 2.5 hours. I normally, after 40 minutes, wrap a show up, but it feels like we've just been talking non-stop with just great aplomb. And you're my first guest from over the water, and I don't think you'll be my last. And
awesome!
It's been a great, literally a great experience having you on the show. So thank you very much. Thank you for having me on yours.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it never feels like, I mean, this hasn't felt like 2.5 hours. It really hasn't. It's been enjoyable, and like I said, I made a new friend. You know, that's usually what ends up happening. So if I'm ever in the UK, I'm hitting you up, and we're gonna have some drinks and talk some more about airsoft, I guess.
Just on that, before we go, again, this is how live things. Whereabouts in the States are you again?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. How far away is that from Missouri?
Probably about 13-hour drive. Yeah.
Oh, not close then.
Yeah. So South Carolina, we are 1 state above, or 2 states above Florida. Okay. So you know where Florida is. Yep. In the bottom there. Yeah. So we're right above Georgia. Okay. Florida, Georgia, us, and then yeah, we're on the East Coast. So I live in the upper eastern or western part of South Carolina. So I'm
Yeah,
about 3 hour drive from Myrtle Beach, the
yeah.
ocean there. Yeah.
Mhm. All right, cool, perfect.
Yeah,
I've got
man.
it. The reason I was asking, I've actually got to go to the States in August with work. I'm
Oh, okay.
going to the Atlanta Fair, but I've also got to go to Missouri as well because some suppliers are taking me out and they're going to take me to a ball game. So,
Oh, nice, dude.
um,
That's gonna be awesome. Okay.
yeah, I mean, to be fair, I actually think American sports is class. I've actually been to Madison Square Garden and done the whole Knicks thing. Like,
Oh,
they've got sports
dude.
entertainment on lock. Like, they know what they're doing. Like firing t-shirts into the crowd. It
Right?
says something when my partner. I did a deal with my partner. It said like, if we're going to go to New York, I want to do Madison Square Garden, and she wanted to do Broadway. So
Yeah.
I went to watch Beetlejuice, which was class. To be fair, I really enjoyed it. But for her to enjoy a sports game is like, I'm sorry, I think she got into it more than I did. I
Yeah.
generally thought she'd be bored for 2 hours, but no, it's class.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
My
yeah,
wife does the same thing. She's when we go to a sports event, boy, she's in it, bro. Like she's all yeah, all in it. And God forbid somebody makes a bad call or something, because
well,
she's gonna get pissed.
yeah, yeah. No, it's bonkers. Um,
Oh yeah.
before I sign off, do you watch Netflix stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, have you guys got the hit phenomenon Baby Reindeer over there?
Oh, dude, we just watched that last week.
Oh, crazy bonk! It's literally going off over here because of it. It's
Is it
literally
okay?
going off.
It is
Um,
crazy.
well, they found the real Martha.
Really?
Yeah, so if you Google Piers Morgan
Okay.
uncensored, he's got a 1 hour interview with it, and she is batshit crazy.
Oh, she's
The real
nuts.
one. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, nuts.
Yeah, if you her real name is Fiona Harvey. If you Google Piers Morgan, do you know who Piers Morgan is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he's interviewed it, and it's
Okay.
opened a whole world of a whole
Oh
different
my
world of
God. I'm
yeah.
gonna tell my wife tonight because we watched it, and as we're scrolling, even now, like we'll scroll and we'll see it,
Mhm.
and I'm like, dude, that was nuts.
Yeah. The thing is, it gets dark and it gets darker, and then okay, it goes
Oh,
up a cliff. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's bonkers.
I'm like, bro, what? Stop! What are you doing? Get away from this woman! Like,
Yeah, crazy. No, absolutely crazy. So yeah, it's a
yeah.
very, very, very good interview. To be fair, very good interview, and she is batshit crazy.
Oh yeah. We've actually gotten really into a lot of British type of shows on the UK or on Netflix and
Yeah.
stuff, and Hulu, and yeah, it's really cool because we get to see in those shows, we get to see kind of the culture, the different lingo and all that kind of stuff. My wife's and I'll say things to her sometimes from talking with somebody from the UK, just little tiny things, in it, and things that we don't say here, and she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, that's what they say in the UK. I'm like, I don't know. I think it's
Yeah.
cool.
If one for you to look at, you might have to do a bit of digging for it. There is, so obviously in the UK, we have Northern Ireland, which is still part of the UK. There's a show that is massive, and it's kind of very ganglandy, drug lordy type thing called Kin.
Okay.
That is real gritty. If you want to get into something like we all grow up on Power and all that sort of stuff. Like I absolutely adore it
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But it's very rare that a British crime drama is that gritty. If that makes sense,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
usually kind of
I love those
wound
kinds,
in
so
a
I'll have
little
to
bit.
look it up.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. So very very
Awesome.
good. So
Absolutely,
cool.
man. Cool.
Right, well we'll wrap that up from there. Thank you very much.